Okay, so if you're thinking about moving to St. Augustine, Florida, there are some good things, there are some bad things that I think you need to know. And as someone who has lived here the majority of my life, I grew up here in town on St. Augustine Beach, I think I have some really good insights onto the past of St. Augustine and also the future, just given my real estate profession now. So everything that I'm going to cover here today is going to be really important. It's going to be the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of living here in St. Augustine, Florida. And if you're considering moving to the area from another location and you're not familiar with it, this video is going to uncover all the stuff you need to know. What's up, everyone? My name's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, and if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest here in northeastern Florida, make sure you reach out to me and my team. All we try to do is give you the information so that you can make an educated decision on what you want to do, which is buy, sell, or invest here in northeastern Florida. So I mentioned before that I've spent the majority of my life here in St. Augustine, but I've also lived a ton of different places. Now I primarily grew up here, but I wasn't born here in St. Augustine. So many people that are locals or natives would maybe not even consider me to be one, maybe a redheaded stepchild of a local, as one could say. But I was born in New York. I moved between New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida, and I've gone back and forth a couple times between both. So I understand what it means to relocate to the area, and being a real estate agent here since 2020, I've helped a ton of families relocate to St. Augustine from out of state, from within the state of Florida. So if you are looking to move, I think I have a really good process to get you from point A to point B, which is where you want to be. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about all the pros of living here in St. Augustine. And I mean, I could go on for days and days, but I could go on for a long time about why it's such a great place to live. Whether you're talking about the schools here, whether you're talking about the beaches, the downtown, the entertainment scene, the dining, whatever that is, what's your favorite thing to do in the lifestyle you envision living here, especially when it comes down to Florida, I think you can find something for anyone in this town. But one of the main reasons that people want to move and consider St. Augustine is because of the downtown area. St. Augustine is the nation's oldest city, and if you're not from Florida, many people don't know that. It's kind of funny to me. It's like most people don't even know that the first Thanksgiving was here in St. Augustine because we are the nation's oldest city. But a lot of people don't know that, and with being the nation's oldest city, there's a historic section where all the buildings, some of them date back to the colonial quarter. We have the first fort that was built within the continental United States here in St. Augustine, Florida, Castillo de San Marcos. We also have Flagler College, which was the Flagler Hotel, started back in the early 1900s, which is now a great, beautiful liberal arts school here in the center of town. We also have the Casa Monica, beautiful hotel, higher end hotel, and then we have the Leitner Museum. And aside from that, we have the colonial quarter, which a lot of those homes date back to shops date back to the early 1500s. So amongst the area, we have a ton of beautiful history and architecture that makes downtown St. Augustine a very attractive place to visit. There's tons of great restaurants, tons of live music, tons of art galleries. All that stuff within the downtown area makes it a really attractive place to visit. And that's how many people find out about St. Augustine. They come to St. Augustine on a vacation, and they see the downtown, they see the beaches, and they're really drawn to it. Now, the reason I really love downtown St. Augustine is because I'm a big foodie, and you can pretty much find whatever you want down there. There's a whole bunch of diversity amongst our food groups here in St. Augustine. Comparatively to when I was a kid, there was really pretty much like, hey, you want fresh seafood? We got it. But if you go downtown now, you pretty much have all the best dining and restaurants that are available here in St. Johns County, right in the heart of the historic area. And it's all walkable, or if you're in a wheelchair or a bike, it's all very easy to get around in downtown. It's not hard at all, unless there's a flood, which very potential that could happen in downtown St. Augustine. They're prepared for it. They deal with it all the time. The second pro of living in St. Augustine is going to be our beautiful beaches. I think we have 42 miles of coastline. All of that is going to be beaches that you have access to. They're all public. There's no private beaches. There's homes that are on the dunes right before the beaches, but it's all public access. You can go on it pretty much anytime you want, outside of Anastasia State Park, where you do need to pay to get into there, or you can just walk from St. Augustine Beach north onto Anastasia State Park, where the beach is located there. But some of the best things about our beaches, which is different than a lot of places, is that it's public, it's free. You don't need to pay to go onto the beach. You do need to pay to drive onto the beach, but you don't need to pay to go onto the beach. Public parking is around. It's not as much as we'd like it to be, but you can still find a parking spot a lot of times if you're diligent. But another pro of the beaches here in St. Augustine is it depends on the tides, but a lot of the times between the dunes and the water, you're going to have somewhere between 50 to 100 yards of beach that you have access to. So even when beaches are crowded, you still have a good bit of space between your neighbor that's sitting on the beach enjoying it with you. Aside from that, you can also drive on the beaches here in St. Johns County. Now, not all beaches are drivable, but a good portion of them are, and that's something I definitely recommend if you are a beach goer, because it makes it way easier. You don't need to worry about parking. You get a $50 a year beach pass. You can drive on as long as you got four-wheel drive. You drive on the beach and you park on the side by the dunes and you bring all your stuff out to the sand. Now for me, that's the way I go. I have a Toyota Tacoma four-wheel drive. We take it to the beach and we go out by Spyglass. There's access off of Crescent Beach, or you can get on at Matanzas if you'd like. But it's a 4-mile stretch where it's pretty much just a driving area on Crescent Beach and Spyglass, and it's pretty quiet, it's pretty beautiful, and there's not as many tourists down there, so that's where we like to go. Before that, I was parking at Spyglass Public Beach Access, and I was lugging all of my stuff over the dunes onto the beach. So by the time I got to the beach, I was already sweating because it's hot. I gotta go over 2 hills of dunes that are wooden staircases that go up and down. I gotta bring my 2 dogs, I gotta bring a canopy because I'm white as a ghost. So getting a truck or a 4-wheel drive vehicle is the way to go if you want to have great access to the beaches here in St. Johns County. Another pro of living here in St. Johns County and the beaches here is that you can bring your dog to the beach. Our area is very dog friendly. You can bring your dog to the bar, you can bring your dog to the shops, you can bring your dog to restaurants, you can bring him to the beach. So if you're a dog lover, this area is really prime for that. And I have 2 pit bulls myself. I'm a huge animal lover in general, but I love my dogs, and they get spoiled and treated really well, and we take them to the beach every time we go. Now they do say that you have to have them on leash, but if you do have a well-trained dog, there's plenty of people that don't keep their dogs on leashes, but the rule technically is that you need to have them on leash. Personally, for my dogs, I bring 2 35-pound weights, which once again, another thing I had to carry over the dunes, which is why I needed to get a 4-wheel drive vehicle. I bring 2 35-pound weights, I tie them up to the weights, and it's dead weight, so they're not moving that. So, especially through the sand, so it makes it really easy, but that's how I operate. The third pro is a small town feel with big city activities. Now, we kind of touched on that a little bit when we were talking about the downtown historic area, but aside from that, you have Volano Beach, you have St. Augustine Beach, and you have downtown St. Augustine. And amongst all of those areas, you do have a small town feel, but there's always something to do. Whether that's a farmer's market, or that's an art gallery, or that's a music event, a music festival. It's just any festival in general. And then in the county, you go down to the county fairgrounds, they have bull riding and horse riding and all that kind of stuff. They have like a country type of festival. There's really something for everyone here. Even just last year, we went to the Puerto Rican festival down here at the St. Johns County Fairgrounds. There is something to do on every given weekend. And that's one of the great things about living here in St. Augustine, is that it's a small town. You can go downtown, you're going to run into a friend or two that you know, but at the same time, it's not humongous. You're not a stranger amongst a crowd. And it still gives you something to do every single day, which is something that, for most people, I'm more of a homebody myself. I don't go out too much.
Okay, Bart, your turn.
Stay home with my dogs and my wife, and soon to be baby. I have a baby girl here in a couple months. But I'm probably going to even become more of a homebody. But regardless, if we wanted to go out to dinner, we want to go out to a concert. We have the St. Augustine Amphitheater here. They have another music venue, Ponte Vedra Concert Hall, just up the street of A1A. Both beautiful venues, so you can catch music, you can catch comedy, farmers markets, festivals, whatever that is, right here in town. Just last year, we went to the Sing Out Loud Festival, which is a 2-day event that they have in the heart of downtown St. Augustine on Francis Field. Last year, they had Mumford & Sons and the Black Keys. We went, we got great tickets, and we were just like, let's go. I love the Black Keys. I've been listening to them since I was in high school. So for me, it was really a great experience. And this past year, they had Eric Church and Noah Kahan, who I know Eric Church. I've seen him before live, so I wasn't really super motivated to go down there. But apparently Noah Kahan's great. I don't know. He's more for the younger people than me, I guess. I didn't really know who he was. But 2-day event. They have like 30,000 people come to our town, and it happens at September every year, which is known as the Sing Out Loud Festival, which covers the entire month of September. It's typically a slower month after the summer, the high highs of summer of tourism. Typically it's in September, and it's going to be a slower month for the area, so they want to put on this festival so that they get people out, they get the locals out, and they get people spending money in downtown. The fourth pro of living here in St. Augustine is that it's great if you're an outdoorsy type of person. We live in northeastern Florida, so our weather is pretty favorable year round. Now, of course, we are in Florida. We do get the dog days of summer. We do get the hurricanes, but in general, we have pretty favorable weather about 250 out of 350 days out of the year, where you're going to see somewhere between the 70s and 85 degree mark. Now, once you get over 85, it does get a little hot. 85 to me is kind of normal, but I have friends that come down from Philly, come down from New York, and you see them start beading sweat within the first couple minutes of walking out the door, where I'm used to it. Once you move here after a year or so, you kind of get used to it. Aside from that, if you like to go boating and fishing, I mean, there's public boat ramps all throughout St. Johns County. We obviously have the Atlantic Ocean right there. If you want to go deep sea fishing, you can do that. But we also have the intercoastal. So if you want to just do some fishing, some boating within the intercoastal, you can do that as well. Even if you wanted to go maybe scuba diving or do some kayaking in some of the natural springs that we have here, you can do that within an hour or two of downtown St. Augustine in the center of Florida. And I didn't even realize these places existed until the Instagram, Pinterest era of the past 10, 15 years. But you can definitely go down to, there's Silver Glen Springs, great little area where the water's crystal clear. You can just kind of hang out, have a drink. There's a row of boats where if you want to go grab a slushie, there's a pizza boat, whatever you want to do, you can just hang out there and have a good day with the family. Or if you want to go snorkeling, you want to do some scuba diving, you can do that as well. Also, I can't go without saying that we have the ocean there. You can go surfing out there, you can do some surf fishing out there, just go and swim in the ocean, the intercoastal, whatever you want to do. It's available for you. But aside from that, we do also have tons and tons of golf courses, public, private, all throughout the area. If you're familiar with golf, we also have TPC Sawgrass, which is the Players Championship, played every year here in the northern part of the county in Ponte Vedra. So they have a community where you can buy a home within Sawgrass. It's going to be around $1 million more than likely. But then you're also right there where the action is for TPC. So if you wanted to go and watch some great golf, you can do it there. But aside from that, we have tons of courses that have been developed by some of the best players in the world. And this is something that I wouldn't have expected. I got into mountain biking when I lived up in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area. Go out pretty much every weekend, hit a trail or something like that. They actually have some fantastic mountain biking here in the area. There's Moses Creek, which is right off of 206, and then I go down to Malacompra, which is in Flagler County, just south of us on A1A. There's a great area by Bing's Landing there, where you can get some good barbecue too, and it's also a boat ramp. But great area down there. We can do some good mountain biking. So just a little side note if you like that. And the fifth pro of moving to St. Augustine is that it seems that it's only getting more popular. So you can take that as a con as well. But if you are looking to buy an asset like a home or a condo or a townhome, it's more than likely going to continue to rise because of how unique downtown St. Augustine is compared to the rest of Florida, because of our access to the beaches, because of the intercoastal. I think our real estate market is shown to be pretty stable. And if you look at the past couple years, we've had 7% interest rate. It changed on a dime. It went from 3% to 7% within 6 months to I think it was 8 months. It went from 3% to 6% or 7%, and even touched at 8% at one point. And our real estate market has remained relatively flat. And just to give you an idea, right now we are in the slower point of the year. Typically, you're not going to see the highest prices for homes in December. But just to give you an idea, we're at $484,000 for our median sale price, which is actually up 0.9% from this time last year. So nothing crazy. I typically would see numbers kind of flattening out at this point. Really, when we get into June, July, the summer months, that's when we see a lot of activity spur because of the school system here in St. Johns County. A lot of people want to wait till their kids get out of school so they can make the move a little easier on them, so they can make new friends in their new area. So we see a lot of activity during those summer months, and then kind of dies down towards September, October. November, December, we start to see a little pop. So to me, over the past 2 years, we've had a lot of changes in the real estate market, a lot of changes in the world, inflation, all that kind of stuff, and our real estate market hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't dropped 20%, hasn't gone up 10%. It's remained stable and gone up maybe 1%, 2% year over year the past couple years. And I did touch on that just a second ago, but the school system within St. Johns County is one of the best in the entire state of Florida. We were number 1 out of, I think, 64 school districts in the entire state of Florida for many, many years. I mean, I think it was like 10 years or so, but we have rolled back a little bit. We're at number 2 since I think 2022. We've had 2023, 2024, we've been the number 2 school district amongst all the schools for the public school system in the state of Florida. Okay, and let's talk about some of the negatives of why you wouldn't want to move to St. Augustine. And the first one I touched on slightly before when we were talking about the weather here, but One of the biggest cons of living in Florida in general is going to be the hurricanes that we have. Now, hurricanes, if you haven't experienced them before, can be very scary. It's something that you don't want to mess around with. That being said, typically when it's less than like a category 3, Floridians here, it's a snow day. You know, we get the day off from work, you stay at home, you bunker down, you make some food, you hang out with your friends, drink a couple beers, do whatever you got to do, just calm the nerves a little bit. As long as we're not in, direct path of getting hit, shouldn't have to worry about flooding too much. But when it gets over that category 3 status, that's where you start to get a little bit worried. So when we're getting directly hit with a hurricane, it's category 4 or 5 hurricane just south or just north of us. That's where you're going to see some flooding. That's where you're going to see higher wind speed. And that can be very, very scary, especially when you're not used to it. And even when you're used to it, it's still scary because there's all this stuff is out of your control. And when you have a big hurricane like that, it also spurs tornadoes as well. And the tornadoes, to me, is even scarier than the hurricane. The hurricane you can prepare for. Typically, you're going to see a hurricane about a week out, and then you can make a decision what you want to do. Do you want to stay? Do you want to evacuate? Tornadoes, you don't really have that option. It's coming and it doesn't have a direct path. You don't really know where it's going, whereas hurricanes are a little bit more predictable. So all of that can be very, very scary and is probably the biggest negative to living in our area. That being said, St. Johns County, if you're looking at the statistics over the past 124 years, has only had 4 major hurricanes make landfall in St. Johns County. So when you're comparing that to like South Florida, which I think is like, you're looking like the Miami area, they get hit with like, I think the past 124 years, like 35 times, if I remember correctly. You're looking at the Panhandle to get hit a whole bunch. Now it seems that like Southwest Florida is starting to get hit a good bit. The Tampa area seems, they got hit a couple times this past year. So we seem to be like one of the safer areas, especially when you're talking about hurricanes comparatively to the rest of the state. And to talk about that a little bit more, there's a different building code here in North Florida than there is in South Florida, just based on the wind speed. Our average wind speed at the max is going to be 120 mile per hour, and that's what homes are built for here, whereas in South Florida, it's 160 plus. And that's what homes are built for there. So that's where you're going to see impact windows, concrete block. Where up here in North Florida, you don't necessarily need to build like that. And the second con of living in St. Augustine is going to be the tourism industry. Tourism is the lifeblood of our town. It's how a lot of the people here make money. It's the largest industry by far comparatively and the biggest employer. Now, it's a whole bunch of small mom and pop places that own all these things. So the industry itself is the biggest employer. But it's not, when you're comparing it and you're looking on a graph, you're going to see that the government is actually the biggest employer here. But in reality, the tourism industry, the hospitality industry is going to be the main employment here in the area. And with that tourism industry comes crowds, comes traffic, comes a little bit more of an annoyance when you're just trying to enjoy your downtown area. I could compare it to like maybe, if you live in New York City, you're not going to Times Square every day or even once a year because of all the crowds, all the annoyances down there, and it's very commercialized. Now, I will say downtown St. Augustine is not commercialized at all. You can still go downtown as a local and have a great time, but during peak seasons like summer and from end of November to the end of December, that it's really a tough time going on the weekends because you have all the people visiting town, you have all the people that are from out of town, they have friends that come in to visit you. They're all going downtown. They want to see the night of lights. They want to see the good food, get some ice cream, go shopping, whatever that is. That's going to be the hub for all of it. So living here, it can become more of an annoyance, especially around the holiday season because the traffic gets worse, restaurants have wait times, and it makes it harder to enjoy. One of the reasons you move to downtown, move to St. Augustine or St. Johns County. The third con of living in St. Augustine is going to be the higher cost of living. So like I said, our market has been pretty stable over these past couple years, but it used to be a lot more affordable to live in Florida than it is today. The entire state of Florida has pretty much changed since the pandemic. Tons of people have moved here looking for a different type of lifestyle that Florida offers. And St. Augustine is no different. St. Johns County is no different. And we've seen our area grow exponentially, especially when you compare it to our neighbors. We have Duval County north of us, we have Flagler County to the south of us, and we have Putnam County to the west of us. If you're looking at property prices, you're going to find that St. Johns County is going to be more expensive. Like I said earlier, we have a median sale price of $484,000, where if you're looking at Duval County, that's probably around $340,000. You're looking at Putnam, I think it's around $220,000, and then you're looking at Flagler County, you're looking at probably like $320,000, $340,000. So every area surrounding our county is much cheaper, but in my opinion, they don't offer the same lifestyle that you get here in St. Augustine. And that's probably the reason why it's more expensive to live here. Now, that being said, our taxes here in St. Johns County are actually lower than our surrounding areas. Duval County is more expensive, Putnam County is more expensive, and if you're looking in the city of Palm Coast, you can find taxes being almost 9%, which is in Flagler County, just south of us. So the good thing is that when you're looking at taxes, you can see that St. Johns County property taxes are going to be much cheaper than our surrounding area. So if you're looking at St. Johns County, if you're to just do a quick math problem here, where you take the purchase price of whatever property you're looking at and the taxes, on average, are going to be about 1.4%. Now, this isn't including HOAs. This is, it's in general talking about St. Johns County. So 1.4%, where you're looking at Duval, you can probably say 1.6. You're looking at Putnam, you can say 1.6. And then if you're looking at Flagler County, the city of Palm Coast, which is the main city in Flagler County, taxes there are like 1.9%. So it can be a lot more expensive on your annual basis, your annual cost, just in taxes alone. And the fourth con of living here in St. Johns County, especially if you're moving from a metropolitan area, is that there's pretty much no public transportation. And you can really say that for pretty much every major city in the state of Florida. We just don't have public transportation like they do in the Northeast. I mean, through buses and train stations, we just don't have that kind of stuff here. Now, we do have a bus system amongst Duval County, amongst St. Johns County. There is one, but it's not as frequent. It's not something you can rely on like you would in another part of the country. It's just something that doesn't exist here. We have a lot more cars, and it's all developed to be commuters coming to the area. So everyone owning their own car, having their own car insurance, and driving everywhere. So public transportation is really something that you just can't count on here in St. Johns County. And the fifth thing that you need to know, it's one of the worst things about living here, is the humidity and the heat. Now, I will say, once you live here, you do get used to it, and it becomes different. Once I go up north and it starts to get below 60 degrees, that's now cold to me. Actually, below 70 degrees is now cold to me if I'm outside. It's kind of funny because before that had been like perfect weather, want to be outside all day. Whereas now, like if it's like less than 65, I'm like, I need a jacket. It's too cold out here. And when I have friends that are telling me, oh, it's 20 degrees here, oh, it's 30 degrees, and we've gotten a cold snap this year. We're actually this week here in St. Augustine, we're expecting to hit the 30s at night. I'm not ready for it. It sucks. But the opposite side of that is if you're moving from a colder area down here, it's the first summer is going to feel terrible. You're going to go outside, you're going to feel like you got a wet blanket on. The humidity, the heat, it'll get up to 95 degrees with 100% humidity. You can almost drink the air, and it's not comfortable. But the good thing is we got AC. We got ACs in the cars, we got AC in the restaurants, in the mall. Whatever you got to do, there's AC everywhere. And if you want to be outside still, well, the good thing is that we're coastal, so we still get a good breeze from the ocean off the intercoastal. So it's really not so bad. I mean, especially if you're going to the beach, pretty much every day is a beach day during the summer. Beautiful and sunny. You always get a constant breeze. And if you get too hot, you jump in the water, you cool off. So it's really not that bad. And like I mentioned earlier, when you're talking about favorable weather throughout the United States, I mean, pretty much it's like us and Southern California have the best weather throughout the entire United States when you're talking about favorable days. I think that's somewhere between 65 and 85 degrees. We have over, I think, 250 days a year of favorable weather here in northeastern Florida. And when you compare that to the rest of Florida, we're beating them all day long. So who is St. Augustine perfect for? Well, I think you have a good idea if you've watched all these pros and cons, right? So if you're looking to retire, I think it's a great area for that. You want to play some golf, you want to play some pickleball, you want to hang out on the beach, maybe do some fishing. Tons of that available here in town. If you're moving with a family, tons of neighborhoods with master plan amenities, communities that have the schools within the communities as well. So you don't really got to go anywhere. It makes your life a heck of a lot easier. We can walk your kid to school, you can ride the golf cart over to school, and you know that they're going to get a good education when the majority of our schools here are rated A within St. Johns County. I think it's 73% or 71% of our schools are rated A. So pretty much throw a rock, you're hitting a great school here in St. Johns County. And even if you're single, you're just an individual person that's looking to change their lifestyle, the lifestyle here is great. It just depends if it fits for you. Now, you may not want to move to this area if you are looking for extensive public transportation. This area, we just don't have it. Do I think there's potential for public transportation to happen? Yes, they've talked about a railroad that's going to go from Jacksonville to St. Augustine, to Orlando, to Miami, to Tampa, but that's probably 10 years down the line at the earliest, right? And would I think that would be a great add to our area and connect us to the rest of the Northeast through a train system? 100%, but do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? No. So that may not be worth it to you if you're looking for more public transportation. Another person who may not like living here is just someone who doesn't like tourism. This area, really, like I said before, it's the lifeblood of our town. Tourism is a big economic driver. I think 35% of our schools are paid for by the tourist dollars that come into our town. So it's a huge factor of living here in St. Augustine. If you're not a fan of crowds, tourism, especially during the peak season, then you probably want to stay away. Maybe look at Jacksonville, maybe look at Palm Coast or Putnam County, and you have access to everything within an hour at least to visit downtown, but you don't got to deal with the crowds. But all in all, I think St. Augustine is a great place to live. There are some negatives, but what place doesn't have negatives, right? You can pretty much say your hometown or whatever, yeah, it's great, but there's this. There's going to be something bad about everywhere, and it's all subjective to who you are as a person. Overall, the lifestyle that I think St. Augustine affords you, the schools here, the arts, the entertainment, the live music, the food, the dining, the beaches, all of it add to a big win to me. So if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest here in Northeastern Florida, make sure you reach out to me and my team. All we try to do is give you the information so that you can make an educated decision on what you want to do, which is buy, sell, or invest here in Florida. Until next time, guys, talk to you soon.